What are war crimes in non-international armed conflicts? NIAC. Imagine a conflict where the fighting happens within a country, involving government forces and organized groups. This situation is known as a non-international armed conflict. During these conflicts, serious violations of international humanitarian law occur, which are classified as war crimes. Let's break down what this means. First, a non-international armed conflict involves sustained violence between a state's government forces and organized armed groups. For this classification to apply, the conflict must reach a certain level of intensity, and the groups involved must be organized. Simple riots or disturbances do not qualify as non-international armed conflicts, meaning the laws protecting individuals do not apply in those situations. The legal framework for war crimes in these conflicts is primarily found in Common Article 3 of the Geneva Conventions. This article outlines minimum standards for humane treatment. It prohibits actions such as violence to life, murder, torture, and taking hostages. It also forbids humiliating treatment and passing sentences without proper judicial guarantees. Additional Protocol Roman II and customary international law further elaborate on these protections. Examples of war crimes in non-international armed conflicts include deliberate attacks on civilians or civilian objects that are not participating in hostilities. Torture and inhumane treatment of detainees also fall under this category. Using civilians as human shields or taking hostages is prohibited. Additionally, recruiting child soldiers and committing acts of sexual violence, such as rape, are serious offenses. Destruction of property that is not justified by military necessity is also considered a war crime. International humanitarian law aims to protect civilians and those who are no longer fighting, like the wounded or captured combatants. Violating these protections, such as targeting civilians or denying humane treatment to detainees, constitutes a war crime. When it comes to accountability, war crimes in non-international armed conflicts can be prosecuted under international criminal law. The International Criminal Court has jurisdiction over these crimes, as outlined in the Rome Statute. This statute includes serious violations of Common Article 3 and other serious breaches of applicable laws. However, classifying a conflict as a non-international armed conflict and identifying war crimes can be politically sensitive. States may deny the existence of such conflicts to avoid applying international humanitarian law protections. Despite these challenges, the law seeks to ensure that victims receive protections similar to those in international armed conflicts. In summary, war crimes in non-international armed conflicts are serious breaches of international humanitarian law. They include acts like murder, torture, and attacks on civilians. These actions are prohibited under Common Article 3 of the Geneva Conventions and related legal instruments, ensuring accountability and protection for all affected by armed violence.